Good afternoon, YouTube. You know what? No, we're going to do something different. Since I've been on a little while and we're, getting to know each other, from now on I'm going to start calling y'all friends and family. So, good afternoon, friends and family. I'm Anthony, this is Paul Melder Prepared, and today I wanted to talk about water. You'll see behind me I got some water storage options, and that's what we're really going to get into today because I'm up to 20 some odd videos now and I haven't hit on water yet. And I wanted to give a nice little thought about what you're going to do with water storage, say during a power outage or a situation where your water is contaminated. So let's go ahead and get into it. First things first though, before I get into the stuff behind me, we're going to go into why. Now, obviously water is the essence of life. You can only live 3 days without water, and let's face it, half the problems, illnesses and whatever, are carried by water. I mean, look at cholera and you name it. Hygiene is very essential to keeping, obviously besides clean, but keeping epidemics and whatever at bay. So water is extremely important, as we all know. Now, the general rule whenever you're preparing for water is you want to do 1 gallon of water per day per person. So Utah State University came out with a study that says that you should, Utah State, obviously the home of the Mormons. Mormons prepare for a year at least. So you need to have 270 gallons of water for a family of 3 for 3 months. That roughly equals out to about a gallon a day. Now, this is just for, eating eating and cooking, because if you got dehydrated food, you're obviously going to have to get water to rehydrate it. And you don't want to store straight tap water for a long period because tap water's got, heavy metals, lead, probably a lot of fluoride, all kinds of stuff. So these are just ways that you can try to get around that. So you can do water term storage. Depending if you want to go short term or long term or really long term, this is what I'm going to kind of get into today. Now, first things first, if you're experiencing, say, some event like a hurricane, tornado, bad weather, and you want to make sure you're immediately taken care of, obviously you can go get you a case of water. But how many of you have been out during a storm, snowstorm, hurricane, even heavy thunderstorm, gone out to the grocery store and all the water's gone? I saw it happen last year with the hurricane. So you can't always count on having bottled water readily available, and you don't want to go to the gas station and have to pay $2 per little 20 ounce. It's a little bit ridiculous. So there's ways around that. You can always go and get gallons like this and stash them off to the side. And obviously, your cases of Aquafina or Nestle or whatever kind of water, those will always work in a pinch. But I'm trying to get you to move on beyond that because, like I said, you're going to need 1 gallon of water per person per day. Now, behind me, I have a 5 gallon. These are obviously full, 5 gallon. And obviously you want to make sure you always put the date of when you filled it. That way you can rotate out your supplies. And a 7 gallon Aquatainer. Okay? Now, I prefer the 7 gallons because they're stackable, they're pretty compact, and they're easy to stash away. I got them in my one of my prepared rooms, I guess you could say, on a little rack on the bottom shelf. I got a few of them. They're 7 gallons. That's obviously good for me for a week. You got another one, it's good for the wife for a week. You got these. I like these ones if you're going to be moving. So, say I have to evacuate, or if I'm going outside or whatever, these are a lot easier to carry and handle, and they're a little bit more rugged. So, you can afford to kind of bang them if you need to. Well, I say you need to if it just so happens. Now, these are obviously going to be thinner than these, so price and quality are going to reflect in that. The Aquatainer can usually be had for about $17. That's what I got these for at Sportsman's Warehouse. I don't know where you can find them. I'm sure Walmart's got them. If not, you can always go to places like Cabela's or any kind of outdoor place. I'm sure has them. Same with these. These are a little bit more expensive. I think I got this for about $40, but I only got like 2 of these. Because like I said, this is just for moving. I got to put them in the back, throw them in the back of the truck and get gone. That's what I'm going to use them for. So these are the 2 things that I recommend for intermediate water storage. Now there are other options and there are other reasons why you need to store more water, and I will show you all that in a little bit. But first thing I want to get into is other uses for water, like to flush your toilet. Obviously hygiene and cleanliness are very important, and let's face it, you don't want to be that one person that's stuck at your house in a storm, power's out, water's not pumping, and you have stomach virus, and you have the explosive whatever, and can't get rid of your waste. That's how you get everybody sick, and that's horrible. I mean, things like this happen, and what do you think is going to happen if you drink tainted water? That. Your body's going to try to get rid of it by doing that. That's how cholera spreads, and that's how disease spreads, and it's one of those things I want everyone to think about. You have to be mindful of how certain diseases react and how your body reacts whenever you get a bug. So, with that being said, I highly suggest you take some of your containers like this. This is just a lemonade container I got. I finished the lemonade and I filled it up with water. Now, I'm not going to drink this water. This is what we would call non-potable water. This stays underneath the vanity under the sink in each bathroom. I got multiple of these in each bathroom. And this is strictly for flushing the toilet. So if the power's out, because I'm on a well, so if my power goes out, my well's not going to work, which I'm going to remedy that soon by having a plug-in for my generator. But until then, this is in my bathroom, and I put this underneath the vanity, so whenever I got to flush the toilet, I can fill the back up, and I can actually flush whatever I need to flush. So obviously, if you got to go number one, you go outside, but number two, we don't want to put that outside, especially with a creek. I don't want that washing down the water supply and all kinds of nastiness. You can always dig a hole, but let's face it, if it's real bad weather, you don't want to do that either. Might as well just stay inside, have literally 1 gallon right here, no big deal. That way you can get rid of your waste. So that's the reason why you want to have 2 types of water. You want to have drinkable water, and you also want to have non-potable. You can put it in these containers as well, because these are good for one time only. You don't want to keep reusing them. So just keep that one in mind. Where your bigger water stashes, I rotate mine once a year. You don't have to do it that much. I do it because I feel better. You can get these tablets called Stearamine tablets, which are good to purify water that's been sitting for periods of time. You read on the back of the bottle, the actual proportions or whatever, how you need to per gallon or however many gallons. But that way you can get sterilized water regardless how long it's been sitting, because obviously water that's been sitting is going to, the bacteria are going to grow and multiply, and stale water, if you want to freshen up, you just swish it between glasses, that kind of thing. So that takes up for most of the water. However, I wanted to hit on this. If you have to leave, say you have to, you get a wildfire, there's floods coming, there's some sort of issue where you have to leave your house and bug out, you want to make sure you have one of these. It's a life straw. Now these are good for filtering out bacteria, protozoa, giardia, which, beaver fever, all kinds of that. It filters 264 gallons minimum. So you can literally sit down, lay down by a creek and drink this. Highly suggest getting one of these. They're like $20. I mean, get a few of them. Last I read, there's a couple bad batches that came out in serial numbers, so they got recalled. But as long as you don't have that one, you're good to go. These are, you can find these probably at Walmart. So by all means, pick 1 or 2 up for the family, just in case you got to leave. Stash them in a bag, and you should be good to go on that one. But there's one more thing that you need to have, depending on how much water you want to stash, because let's face it, these are nice, but they can get kind of inefficient in a room. You don't want to have an entire spare bedroom full of these. So let me go downstairs to the garage and I'll show you one more, okay? It comes down to the last step that I have. Now you can always go bigger, but these are 55-gallon drums that I picked up at, I believe I got this at Sportsman's Warehouse as well for about $79. Now this is obviously depending on how serious you are of collecting water. I only have one of these, which is not good enough for me. I'm going to get more, but as for the time being, I have one 55-gallon drum. Obviously, you want to put the date on top of when you filled it. Now, obviously, when you get one of these, I've been saying obviously a lot, alright. Now, when you get one of these, you want to make sure that you have a siphon. That way, you can actually drink the water without having to pour it or put a contaminated hose down in it. So you put these up, pump it, and the water will come out of this little tube right here. Same thing with the bung wrench. That way, you can actually open up the bung from the bung hole and drink your water that way. Now, this stays in the garage. You can't tell, but I have it on some 2x6s because you don't actually want to put this directly on concrete. There's a, I don't know how true it is, but when you have enough people talking about it, better safe than sorry. Plastic sitting on concrete has a transfer effect, so the concrete will kind of leach into your water. I just figured I'd play a little bit safe by putting it on 2x6s. The good thing about being on 2x6s, I can put a hand truck in here and move this if I need to, instead of having to try to tip it and play the little fun, put the barrel on the hand truck game, which I hate playing. But this is the biggest one I have. They make 260 gallons. I forgot what the brand is called, but I'll put it in the description below. They make 260 gallon tanks if you want to go that far. They're humongous, and in a pinch, if you need to, you can always use your water heater. Power goes out for long periods of time. Obviously, you don't need water in your water heater. They got the little drain at the bottom. Put a hose on it and drink that, or use that if you need to. Obviously, process any water that's been sitting. When I say process, I mean boil it, but there you go. That's it. That's for big water storage. There you have it. That's my water storage for around the house. That's what I use. Now, I'm going to put in the description below all the places you can find some of this stuff online. That way you can find it yourself. But I think water storage is very important, because think about every single disaster, hurricane, tornado, whatever, what's the first thing these FEMA trucks and everything else keep bringing in? Water. Why? Because no one prepares by storing water. So if you can at least store something, then you're less likely to be, at the mercy of FEMA. So that's what I wanted to get in your head. Think about water storage. Should be the first thing that you should really start prepping on, because let's face it, 3 days without water, you die. After 2 days, you get very weak, start getting headaches, logic starts going. I mean, even after a day, your logic starts going. You start trying to do things you wouldn't normally do because you can't think right. And when you sweat and you perspire while breathing. What's the word? I can't think of the word. Anyway, when you breathe, when you sweat, you lose water that way too. So if it's a hot environment like I'm in the south, you're going to, die quicker than 3 days. So just keep that in mind. Make sure you store some water and you'll be good to go. If you like this video, go ahead and drop me a like. If you learned something, share with a friend, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I will see y'all later.